Hello and welcome to Vision Academy. In this video, we are going to learn Chapter 1 Exception Handling in Python Multiple Choice Questions. Let us begin with the first question. What type of errors are exceptions in Python? Option A, logical errors. B, syntax error. C, runtime errors. D, parsing errors. Here, option C, runtime errors is the right answer. Question number 2. What happens when a syntax error occurs in Python? Option A. Program continues with incorrect output. B. Program halts with a description of the error. C. Program fixes the error automatically. D. Program warns but does not stop. Here option B. Program halts with a description of the error is the right answer. Question number 3. What are syntax error also known as? Option A, runtime errors. B, logical errors. C, parsing errors. D, none of the above. Here, option C, parsing errors is the right answer. Question number 4. Which Python mode provides immediate feedback on syntax errors? Option A, script mode. B, shell mode. C, IDE mode. D, debug mode. Here, option B, shell mode is the right answer. Question number 5. When does a zero division error occur? Option A, dividing by a negative number. B, using a zero numerator. C, dividing by zero. D, using zero in mathematical expressions. Here, option C, dividing by zero is the right answer. Question number 6. What does Python do when an exception is raised during execution? Option A, continues execution. B, skips the error. C, terminates the program abruptly. D, jumps to exception handling code if present. Option D, jumps to exception handling code if present is right answer. Question number 7. Which exception is raised when a variable is not defined? Option A, name error. B, value error. C, syntax error. D, type error. Here, option A, name error is right answer. Question number 8. What does the input output error exception indicate? Option A, an undefined variable. B, a file that cannot be opened. C, a division by zero. D, an incorrect argument type. Here, option B, a file that cannot be opened is the right answer. Question number 9. Which exception is for incorrect indentation? Option A, value error. Type error. C, indentation error. D, syntax error. Here, option C, indentation error. Question number 10. Which keyword is used to manually raise an exception? Option A, assert. B, raise. C, throw. D, accept. Here, option B is the right answer. Question 11. What happens after an exception is the raise statement? Option A, the remaining statements in the block are executed. B, the current block stops executing. C, execution continues in the same block. D, none of the above. Here, option A, the remaining statements in the block are executed, the right answer. Question number 12. What exception does the assert statement raise if the condition is false? Option A, assertion error. B, value error. C, syntax error. D, runtime error. Here, option A, assertion error is the right answer. Question number 13. What is the main purpose of exception handling? Option A, to debug syntax error. B, to prevent program crashes. C, to increase speed. D, to optimize performance. Here, option B, to prevent program crashes, is the right answer. Question number 14. Which block is used to catch exceptions in Python? Option A, try. B, except. C, else. D, finally. Here option B, except, is the right answer. Number 15, which block is always executed irrespective of whether an exception occurred? Option A, try, B, except, C, else, D, finally. So here option D, finally, is the right answer. Question number 16, what happens if multiple except blocks are present for a single try block? Option A, all are executed. B, the first matching block is executed. C, none are executed. D, only the last block is executed. Here, option B, the first matching block is executed. Question number 17, when is the else clause executed in a try except block? Option A, if no exception occurs. B, if an exception occurs. C, always executed. D, never executed. Option A, if no exception occurs, is the right answer. Question number 18, which blocks comes immediately after the try block? Option A, except, else, C, finally, and here option A, except, is the right. Question number 19, what is the primary use of the finally block? Option A, to catch specific exceptions. B, to execute cleanup code. C, to handle syntax error. D, to ensure program optimization. Here option B, to execute cleanup code, is the right answer. Question number 20, which statement is true for the finally block? Option A, it executes only if no exception occurs. B, it executes regardless of exceptions. D, does not execute under any condition. Here option C, it executes regardless of exception, is the right answer. Question number 21, which exception is handled in the following code? So here you can observe they have given try, num input, enter a number, except, value error, print, put. So here options are A, zero division error, B, syntax error, C, value error, D, type error. So here value error, option C, right answer. Question number 22, what happens if no exception is raised in the try block? Option A, the except block executes. B, the else block executes. C, both except and else blocks execute. D, the program terminates. Here option B, the else block executes, is the right answer. Question number 23, what will happen if an exception not matched by any except block occurs? Option A, program continues. B, the program terminates. C, the last except block, none of the above. Here option B, the program terminates, is the right answer. Question number 24, in a try except block with multiple except clauses, which block is executed first? Option A, first except block. B, the most specific matching block. C, the last except block. D, none of the above. Here option B, the most specific matching block, is the right answer. Question number 25, what can be included in the raise statement for additional exception name only? B, optional arguments like a string message. C, exception handling code. D, none of the above. Here option B, optional arguments like a string, right answer. Question number 26, what does the following code output? Try, raise value error, custom error message, accept value error as E, print E. Option A, nothing. B, value error. C, custom error message. D, program terminates error. So here it is going to print custom error message. Hence option C, the right answer. Question number 27, Which exception is user defined? Option A, import error. B, zero division error. Assertion error. D, any exception created by the programmer. Here option D, any exception by the programmer is the right answer. Question number 28. What is printed by the following code? Try, raise, name error, example, accept, name error, print, name error occurred. So option A, name error. B, name error occurred. C, example. D, none of the above. So here you can observe we have raised a name error. So here except code handler is handling this and it is printing name error occurred. Hence option B, name error occurred is the right answer. Question number 29. Which exception does an assert statement raise if the expression is false? Option A, value error. B, syntax error. Assertion error. D, name error. Here option C, assertion error is the right answer. Question number 30. What happens if the assert condition evaluates to true? Option A, the program halts. B, an exception is raised. C, execution continues. D, the next except block is executed. Here option C, execution continues is the right answer. Question number 31. What does the runtime system do when an exception occurs? Option A, terminates the program immediately. B, searches for a handler in a call stack. C, ignores the exception. D, converts it to a warning. Here option B, searches for a handler in the call stack is the right answer. Question number 32. What happens if no handler is found in the call stack? Option A, program terminates. B, exception is ignored. C, execution continues. D, exception is logged but execution continues. So here option A, program terminates is the right answer. Question number 33. What does the following code do? Try x is equal to 1 divided by 0. So here we have used except zero division error and we are printing cannot divide by 0. Option A, prints cannot divide by 0. B, terminates with zero division error, ignores the error. And option D, none of the above. So here you can observe it is going to print cannot divide by 0. Hence option A is the right answer. Question number 34. Which statement is valid for catching exceptions? Option A, only one except block is allowed. B, try block can have multiple except blocks. C, no try block is needed. D, none of the above. Option B, try block can have multiple except block is the right answer. Hence option B is the right answer. Question number 35. What is the output of the following code? Try, print 1 divided by 0, except 0 division error, print exception handled. Finally, print finally block executed. Option A, exception handled, finally block executed. B, finally block executed. C, program terminates with 0 division error. D, none of the above. So here you can observe, so it is raising 0 division error. Hence it is going to print exception handled. And whenever the interpreter of the Python encounters with the finally block, definitely this particular statement will get executed. So it is going to print exception handled, finally block executed. So exception handled, finally block executed. Option A is the right answer. Question number 36. Which block will execute even if an exception is not raised? Option A, try. B, except. C, finally. D, none of the above. So even though there is no exception, at least finally will get executed. Hence option C is the right answer. Question number 37. What is the purpose of a generic except block? Option A, handle syntax errors. B, handle errors not specifically caught. C, optimize performance. D, ignore exceptions. So here option B, handle errors not specifically caught is the right answer. Question number 38. Which block is recommended for cleanup operations? Option A, try. B, except. C, finally. D else. Here option C finally is used for cleanup operations. Hence option C is the right answer. Question number 39. What does the following code print? Try int ABC. Here you can observe ABC is a string type of data and we are trying to convert it forcibly into int type. So hence, so it is going to throw an exception and it will be handled by value error. Print value error handled. Option A, value error. B, program terminates. C, value error handled. D, none of the above. So once the exception is thrown, then this except block will get executed and it is going to print value error handled. So hence option C, value error handled, is the right answer. Question number 40. What happens when an exception is raised but not caught? Option A, the program terminates. B, it continues execution. C, it enters the finally block and resumes. D, none of the above. Option A, the program terminates, is the right answer. Question number 41. What is the purpose of an else clause in a try block? Option A, it is mandatory. B, executes if no exception occurs. C, always executes regardless of exceptions. D, it defines error recovery steps. So here option B, executes if no exception occurs. Question number 42. Which block can have more than one occurrence in exception handling? Option A, try. B, accept. C, else. And D, finally. So here you can say after try, you can have only one try, you can have multiple except blocks. Hence option B, accept, is the right answer. Question number 43. What is the output of the following code if the input is 0? Try result is equal to 50 divided by int input, enter a number. So in this particular place 0 is inserted. So 50 divided by 0, that leads to 0 division error. So once the error is caught in a try block, it will be thrown to the exception handler, except 0 division error, and it is going to print cannot divide by 0. And then we have got a finally block, and this particular exception will not get executed. So finally block will definitely get executed. So here you can observe options: cannot divide by 0, execution complete; invalid input, execution complete. Option C, 50 divided by 0. Option D, program terminates with 0 division error. You can observe that. So whenever the exception occurs and it will be handled by this except block, so it is going to print cannot divide by 0, execution complete. So cannot divide by 0, execution complete. Option A is the right answer. Question number 44. Which exception is raised if the following code is executed and the input is ABC? So try num is equal to int input, enter a number. Actually we have been asked to enter integer number, but here we are inserting ABC, which is a string type of data. It is invalid value. So here exception is caught and it will be thrown and it will be handled by except value error, and it is going to print invalid input. Option A, value error. B, type error. C, syntax error. D, name error. So here you can see it is value error, hence it is going to return value error. Option A is the right answer. Question number 45. What does exception handling ensure? Option A, errors are ignored. B, code runs faster. C, program does not crash abruptly. Option D, syntax errors are corrected automatically. Here option C, program does not crash abruptly, is the right answer. Question number 46. What is the primary benefit of a try finally structure? Option A, better syntax. B, clean termination or recovery. C, handling specific exceptions. D, ignoring runtime errors. Here option B, clean termination or recovery, is the right answer. Question number 47. What exception is raised if input encounters EOF, that is end of file? Option A, value error. B, EOF error, that is end of file error. C, type error. D. Syntax error. So here option B, EOF, that is end of file error, is the right answer. Question number 48. When is the overflow error raised? Option A, a file cannot be opened. B, division by zero occurs. C, a calculation exceeds the max limit for a numeric type. D, an undefined variable is accessed. Here option C, a calculation exceeds the max limit for a numeric type, is the right answer. Question number 49. What is the process of finding an exception handler called? Option A, raising an exception. B, catching an exception. C, searching the call stack. D, none of the above. So here option C, searching the call stack, is the right answer. Question number 50. What happens when an exception is successfully caught? Option A, it propagates. B, execution terminates. Option C, control resumes after the try block. D, none of the above. So here option C, control resumes after the try block, is the right answer. Question number 51. Assertion. Syntax errors are detected during the Python program. So here this is false. Next reason, syntax errors occurs when the rules of programming languages are violated, and this is true. Here you can observe we have got options like D, A is false but R is true. So hence option D is the right answer. Question number 52. Assertion A, exceptions disrupt the normal flow of program execution. So here this statement is true. Reason are exceptions represent errors that occur during runtime and must be handled. So here this statement is also true and it is supporting the assertion. Here you can observe both assertion A and reason are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. So here option is the right answer. Question number 53. Assertion A, built-in exceptions in Python handle commonly occurring occurs. So this statement is true. Reason, programmers need to create user-defined exceptions for all error cases, and this statement is false. Here you can observe A is true but R is false. Here option right answer. Question number 54. Assertion A zero division error is raised when a division operator involves a denominator of 0. So this statement true. Reason are Python checks for runtime errors during program execution. Here also true, and it is a correct assertion. Hence option A, both assertion A and reason are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 55. Assertion A. The raise statement in Python can be used to manually raise exceptions. Here, this statement is true. Reason are the raise statement forces an exception to be raised and handled. So this statement is also true. So here, reason is a correct explanation of assertion A. Hence, option A, both assertion A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A is the right answer. Question number 56. Assertion A. The assert statement raises an exception if the given false. So this statement is true. Reason, the assert statement is used for debugging testing Python. So this statement is also true. Option A, both assertion A and reason are true, and R is the correct explanation, right? Question number 57. Assertion A, the try block must be followed by at least one except block. So this statement is true. Reason are The try block allows execution of code that may raise exceptions while the except block handles them. So this statement is also true. Here option A, both assertion A and reason R are true and R is the correct answer. Question number 58, assertion A, the finally block is when exception is placed in the try block. So this is false statement. Reason are the finally block ensures cleanup code is executed regardless of whether an exception occurred or not. And here this is a true statement. Here you can observe option T, A is false but R is true, is the right answer. Question number 59, assertion A, multiple except blocks can for a single try block. So this statement is true. Reason are each except block handles a specific type of exception. This is also true. So here you can say that option A, both and R are true and R is the correct the right answer. Question number 60. Assertion A, the else block in a try except structure executes only if no exception occurs in the try block. So this statement is true. Reason are the else block is executed before the finally block. This statement is also true and it is a of A. Hence option A is right answer. Number 61, assertion, if an exception caught in the block, the here true are unhandled propagate up the statement assertion. So here option A, both A and R are true. R is correct. A is 52. Assertion a value in function or operation. True statement. Reason are the value error exception occurs for both the invalid and invalid false. Here option here option A is true but R is false is the right answer. Question number assertion the raise true. Reason are the raise statement is true. So here option the right the assert developer code statement. Reason are condition raised true. Here option the try block exceptions while the except block identifies exceptions. So here option A, try block identify assertion false are the try block code that says while the defines handles are the try block contains that might while the block exceptions true. Here you observe Option D, false. And question number 66, assertion A, an EOF error is raised when the input function reaches the end of a file with input. This is true. Reason are, the EOF error occurs when the program deadly. This statement is also true. So here option assertion, relation and reason are true. R is the finally build X try block. True. The finally block is option number 68. The Python interpreter automatically searches appropriate statement. Reason are, trace back. True. So hence question number, the type error operation tied to of an inappropriate statement. Reason are, Python. True. Option E, assertion E, logs. True. Are always false. Generic except all specific logs to avoid masking exception. Reason are, a generic avoid exception. Reason are, log should after all specific logs to avoid masking exceptions. This statement is also true. So here option, both assertion and reason are true. R is the 21. Assertion is the try except else structure without raise are the else block in code that can no occurs. So here also option right answer. Assertion, when a word before statement and are undefined. Here you can observe options A is true and R is false. Assertion exception, statement are Python the raise statement also true. And R is correct. Both assertion true and 74 assertion, the indent properly indented true. Reason R, Python part of its code. Option E, assertion 5, assertion user statement is true, prevents programs abrupt. Here, option both assertion A and true and R is the. I hope you understood all of these questions and answers. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and we'll see you in the next video.